The more corporate you get, the higher up the chain you go, the more ruthless and selfish you'll find it is. And for good reason. The ones who are the most ruthless and selfish make the most money.
Yep.
So it's a self-fulfilling thing of capitalism. But if you can't beat capitalism, join the market and win it that way. But the only point that I wanted to make that I forgot earlier was that you've got to invest as much time in yourself as you do at someone else's business. That's how I got out of my job. I was like, if I'm doing 7 hours at work, 8 hours at work, I want to really try and do at least 6, 7, 8 in myself. Because why am I investing in his future, but I'm not investing in my future?
Yep.
I mean, it's just stupid, right?
Welcome back to the Steady Trade Podcast, everyone. I am Tim Bohen, back with Kim and Steven. We've got an interesting topic today. I know I think, I may be wrong, but I think our podcast kind of skews towards the younger demographic. You know, a lot of people that are getting started in finance. And, Kim stumbled across an interesting article talking about, the new world we live in finance, trading, entrepreneurship. I mean, I still remember back, back last spring, I think over and over, my, Dave Portnoy has a way bigger reach than me. I think about him bringing day trading to that average Joe or Jane. We're going back to kind of the beginning of the shutdown when there were no sports, and Dave's like, well, I'm gonna start day trading right now.
Exactly.
And, and again, listen, I love Dave. Zero risk management, zero research. He just kind of he just bought stuff and would, and I mean, hey, but lessons to learn. And listen, the thing with like a lot of people would kind of complain about Dave, but I'm like, he's got it to lose. I mean, it's like, listen, I mean, it's like if he wants to lose $1 million on Mark, like the worst stock in the world, he's free to do that. A lot of people blow $1 million on a piece of shit Lamborghini that won't even start half the time you want to start it. It's his money. He can do whatever he wants to do with it. But the thing, again, what I liked about what day, he went mano-a-mano with Vlad at Robinhood after the whole, fiasco there, which oddly enough, tomorrow Robinhood IPOs. But, it's a new world. And back to where I started. Yeah, I remember I ranted about that democratization of finance. Yeah. And listen, Robinhood's screwing you, selling your order flow to Citadel. But I mean, listen, I still think it's better than paying $90 commission on a trade that you made $50 on, It's like, I mean, just that's the beauty of yes, there's still impediments. The world isn't fair. The world's never going to be fair. But between mobile apps, free brokerage accounts, unlimited access to information, cryptocurrencies, I mean, it's an amazing world if you're not lazy, if you're willing to study, if you're willing to put in the work, and if you're willing to have risk management. I mean, we all see the horror stories. Oh, this blow up. But they didn't approach it like a business. They didn't approach it like an entrepreneur. And that's, again, what is in a lot of this article is learning or finding those side hustles, as I like to say, to fund your life, to fund your career. And you don't have to take that traditional career path here's the classic Tim Bohen 25-minute introduction. What I love, and whether work from home is a good thing or not, I mean, listen, I love it because the great thing is, unless you got some creepy, weird boss that tracks your keystrokes and has a camera on you, if they do, quit. But, the beauty of work from home is you're trading on the side, man. It's like, get your work done, bring that regular paycheck in, those benefits, that's something I harp on. I mean, listen, there's no health insurance in day trading, zero. There's no retirement plan in day trading. There's no paid time off. So that being said, that's the topic for today, the coming golden age that I've been talking about for years. And I think that, if you focus on positivity, work from home is a great thing, free commission trading, mobile apps, et cetera, et cetera. So
Yeah.
Just to jump in as well.
just to stop me at the 35-minute. Stephen, I'm a little upset. I'm a little upset you interrupted me. You interrupted me 35 minutes into the introduction. I mean, I thought we had a better relationship, and I thought you respected me a little more than that.
I thought today is the day after 3 years. I'm going to interrupt him.
Good
Because he was talking about it on
choice.
StocksToTrade Pro. He was talking about it on StocksToTrade Pro this morning, saying that for 3 years he's been interrupting. So I was like, this is the time.
Okay.
But no, like I turned 34. So I've missed that Gen Z.
Happy birthday. Did you have a good birthday?
Yeah, I went to Berwick, which is near Scotland. We got drunk, saw some bars, like not a lot. But I'm the back end of Gen Z at 34.
Mm-hmm.
But even I've just caught the back end of that lifestyle. So you definitely, and you don't have to work from home either. You can, like, I'm heading to Bali next month. In Asia, whether it's Thailand or Bali or wherever you're traveling, they have these co-working spaces for digital nomads.
Yep.
And you'll find 30 different people. And you know what the rent is? I was just looking at the rent because I'll be going there. It's $70 a month to work from an office in Bali.
Okay.
$70. No, from a co-working space, but you get coffee, tea, and printer and address. And then it's about $250 if you want if you actually want an office. But it's, if you can get,
which is still a steal. I mean, think about it. Yeah. I mean, think about like Kim leasing a office in New York City or something. It's like,
Forget about it. Forget about it. And the WeWork spaces that were in New York City also were very expensive, but still cheaper than having your own office. But what you're talking about is different countries. It's so skewed towards another because they're not at the kind of financial lifestyle or payments that you're going to be coming from.
But if you're from
taxation,
the States,
I mean, it's like, listen, you if you're paying $10,000 a month for your office rent, $9,000 goes to the government. You know, it's like.
It's honestly, I was always a strong believer because my brother had a very successful business, still has. He was the one who brought me onto it. I thought if you can just have some different revenue streams, like do trading, do YouTube, do freelance advertising, and then no matter what. Say trading hasn't gone well this month, I'm like flat, but I've still got freelance, and then on 1 month freelance might be all right, but trading's went through the roof. And
or you lose a freelance client, you know, let's say
you lose a freelance client, but then you have a record trading month. As long as you've got multiple sources of income, so you're always backed up no matter what. Then you don't have to work from home. You can go $70 a month for your rent. You get an office, you get high speed internet, you get Skype. And your rent's probably about $300 for a luxurious place compared to what you'd pay for somewhere a bit crap in America.
For sure.
See, and that's what's so exciting about this. And you know, like this obviously dates Kim and I, but we could not do that. I mean, that was not a possibility. True. I mean, you had to go to work. I mean, you know, it's like, I mean, you know, the internet was around, but it's freaking dial up, and you know, it's like, and you couldn't do any real work. I mean, it'd take you 5 minutes to send an email, you know? So that's what's so exciting about it to me is Kim and I, and, you know, and Stephen to a certain extent, you know, we knew what it was like. And it's like, that's why I'm like, please travel, you know, please go to Bali, get a $200 a month freaking office, you know, or something. So
that's right.
But I'm of the belief, just one final thing, and I'm sorry, because Tim cuts me and then I cut you. The only thing I would say is it seems that you, from my life, only 34 now, but it seems like you only need to, and I say only, but you need to put in about 4 years of really, really giving it your all, getting really honed at a craft, getting really good at something. Like trading takes like 4 years. You'll have slumps, but overall you'll be making money. Hopefully you should be. 4 years of grind, or starting a business, 4 years of grind, setting that thing up, or like setting up an Amazon, like anything. If you work hard, for 4 straight years, it should start paying off for 10 years with less maintenance. I don't know if you guys agree, but that's what I see in the world.
I think it's more possible now for that to be done within 4 years. I don't know. And I think I just also want to cautiously say, if you're at 4 years and you feel like, shit, I'm not there, don't, make yourself wrong for that, because everybody's going to have their own timeline. But with what's available to us now online, what's available to us through these platforms, that's why this article I thought would be so good for our audience, because you have this young man who is trying to, ramp up his business via TikTok. It really wasn't working, but then he kind of tweaked it, found out that he did need to have some kind of a location. He found one in the Bowery in a shared kind of workspace. And once he started to do that with TikTok, that's when he saw. So it took him a few years to figure that out. But again, I think you're right, Stephen. There is going to be an intensive ask of you, at least for 4 years, possibly longer, where you're going to have to think it through. The other person I just want to give a shout out to is Gary Vaynerchuk, because so much of his advocacy is around the multiple streams of income. And even though he has a successful media company, you still will see him, and because he enjoys it, you'll still see him at garage sales, finding baseball tickets that are collector's items and then selling them on, I don't know what he uses, probably not eBay, but he's using a platform too. So I just thought we should talk about this, because day traders, especially when they're new, seem to think this is going to be their entire focus. And I just don't think that's the wisest way. You can give it so much your focus, but have another revenue stream or two. Stephen talks about his freelance gigs. Obviously, you guys know that I'm an entrepreneur. I mean, the concept is have a couple of things in your toolbox so that you aren't then tempted to take trades that are not appropriate for you to take because you got nothing else going on that day.
Two books. You mentioned Gary. I'm sure I've mentioned Gary on the podcast before, but and Tim Ferriss. I mean, two of the books, they're old, but I think they were. I think they're just as good today. Crush It by Gary Vaynerchuk,
loved that
and then
book.
4 Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. Those two books are one of the biggest. Probably those two books together are 90% of the reason I'm here today and not still at that business that I've told that story a million times. I mean, both those books, I can't recommend them enough. And yeah, I think that, we always, here comes the 90% failure rate again. But I think one of the biggest mistakes people make is that, you put yourself in that position where you have to make money. Yeah. And I mean, listen, you got to live. Okay. I mean, you got to buy groceries. You got to, you got to pay your bills and stuff. You got to pay the rent. And I think that contributes to the high failure rate because it contributes to the big losses because, you're looking at half your account gone. That's and right. You're like, well, if this, and this goes long or short, obviously, and you start, and you're like, well, if this comes back, okay, then my account didn't just go from 10 to $5,000. And maybe sometimes you get rewarded. You're down $5,000 and you make $500 because of that point. Because at that point, you're outside the realm of a good trade. You're outside the realm of risk management. You're into the point where, Jesus, I got to pay rent next week. So the more you can diversify, the more you can save. Saving is diversification as well. I mean, if you're really, really interested in trading, I mean, and you're not ready to take the leap right now, there's a million different ways. Payroll deduct, set up a separate account, have $200 a week, $200 a month that goes into a savings account that you don't touch, you don't go near, you don't even look at it. You'd be surprised at how quickly that grows. Now, not with 0.001% interest, but your $200 that you put in here and there, now it's a year or two down the road and you got that $10,000 and you can trade with that. So don't try and avoid putting yourself in that position by diversifying, because I just think you're setting yourself up to fail, I think,
Absolutely. And, I'm sure some traders that are listening to us, they're like, wait a minute, this is a trading podcast and you guys are telling us to do something other than trade. And what we're saying is we want you to succeed at trading.
Kim, what stock do I? It's 2:01 p.m. on July 28th. I need a pick. I got rent next week. Give me a pick.
I'd say BT.
I do like BT.
Oh, that's probably what I'm telling you. If
Fair
you want to pick right now, I'd say BT.
But by the time you all listen to this, that will not probably still apply. But the point is, we want you to be able to succeed at day trading. And for you to succeed, you're going to not be able to succeed if you have a gun to your head, that financial gun to your head. It's not the best way to go. And let me say this about Crush It. Right before Gary, I had met Gary. He was involved in affiliate marketing. So I had met him at a conference that I was working at. And I really liked him. And Crush It hadn't come out yet, but I pitched him in a Starbucks. We both lived on First Avenue. I lived in 84th Street. He lived, I think, in the 70s. And I got to pitch him at Starbucks on First Avenue because I wanted him to take his book, Crush It. I knew, what was coming out, what the book was about. I think I even got to read an advanced copy. And I was like, look, Gary, you want people to crush it? They're going to have some coaching. I said, so I think you should team up with me and let my coaching be positioned along with your book. And he thought it was a good idea. But then, nothing ever came of it, which is still sad to this day. But it was just, and I still have his mobile number in my phone, which I don't know if it even counts because now he does that, gives his phone number away all the time. So
but that probably goes to some sort of like
probably goes to some collective. But the point about Gary, if you guys don't know who he is, check him out because he's constantly reinventing himself. He's constantly looking at what's hot now. What are the kids into now? It keeps him fresh. He was on the NFT wagon way before even the traders were. He was talking about NFTs way before. So I think you just got to find a few people.
Which NFTs, by the way, talk about a great way. Listen, if you're artistic, if you're artistic, unlike Steven, who's autistic, if you're artistic, it's a great way to sell your work. You don't need that go between of a.
I'll give you that one. It was funny and quick.
Steven's face just dropped.
I think that's in like 200 episodes. That's the first time you guys got to me.
That'll be like TikTok viral.
I can't stop laughing.
I'm really good at the straight man, and then you guys kept laughing, and I couldn't.
We cracked him, Steven.
That'll be a clip on a reel on Instagram.
Oh my goodness! But you're saying about the concept of NFTs and artists, you're suggesting again. Diversify, be varied in your interest. Plus, it's going to make you a better trader. It's going to make you a better trader if you know what's happening in other industries. If you know what's happening in other, parts. There's a certain vibe right now, even with this article. What's this article's title? It's called Gen Z's Rewriting the Rules for Personal Finance in Real Time. So that means just even being able to invest in Robinhood way back when, right? If you're paying attention to what's happening culturally, how can that not make you a better trader?
So actually, I've got, speaking of that, on Instagram, Sean SEAN _Flores FLORES. He's been on pre-market prep like every day. He's it's awesome, man. He's on all the great stocks. But check him out, Sean _Flores. Speaking of NFTs, it just made me think of it because he's got some really cool stuff that he does. It's all like finance related. That's Pablo Esco. It's not showing up for crap, but check out his Instagram. A lot of he does a lot of cool stuff with like Scrooge McDuck. Obviously Scrooge McDuck always has the money and stuff. Yeah, and he's an amazing artist. I wish it would show up, but anyway,
that's so awesome.
SEAN _FLORES. Give him a follow. Maybe buy some of his stuff. He offered to send me something. And anyway, but yeah, check him out. Awesome stuff.
That's so cool. But there's a guy who's undoubtedly trading, but he's also has another revenue stream.
Exactly. And that's kind of what I was getting at. Yep.
Brilliant. So, and even Steven is still doing his amazing copywriting and his advising around advertising. What else do you do, Stephen?
Well, I mean, now I do freelance, I do YouTube, I do trading. I think that's it, but that's kind of enough. Like it's 3 jobs. But I mean, look, even the guys that are making a lot of money, like shout out to Small Cap Recap.
Yep.
Those daily videos are some of the best content I've saw on the internet in a few years.
Matt and Bryce.
Watching them.
Yep. So
Bryce Toohey, shades on every day.
Yep.
And Matt Monaco, look, even they're making 20 grand a day some days, and even there, they've got a side hustle because even they're thinking, don't know when I might hit a dry streak. What if the market gets a bit slow on the long side? Even they're thinking, let's push out some content.
Such a good point, Steve.
Everyone's doing it.
And if they're thinking that and they're at that level, then just wherever you are, listener, you got to think, if the successful traders are having a side hustle, maybe I should have a side hustle.
And again, the beauty of it is, again, as an old man, it's like, this is all, it's right here, I mean, all right here, and again, dating me, but I mean, it's like, listen, if you wanted to do, 15 years ago, like when YouTube started, I mean, it's like, you had to have like 3 computers, all this camera gear, all this, I mean, all this stuff.
That's right.
Your trading, your art, your YouTube, your freelance. I mean, it's like, it's all right here, man. So
that's it. And the other thing the article said that was amazing was this young girl, 19 or 20 years old. She realized she really didn't understand basic money concepts. She wasn't necessarily going down the trading path, but she said
to the public school systems for that.
Well, it's kind of sad. But
Kim, you and I learned how to balance a checkbook in high school, right?
No, we did not.
You didn't? Oh, I did.
Nope.
See, I'm older.
I did not. No, you are not older than me.
I'm like 20 years older.
You say it so many times, I almost start to believe you are older than me.
You didn't have like the little checkbook class and stuff?
Oh,
yeah, we had to do a budget. We had to do everything. Yeah.
I would have loved to have it. No, I didn't get that. Hell, I'd just have been happy if somebody taught me how to make a meatloaf, but I was like, I don't want to learn how to make a meatloaf. I don't know how to change the oil in my car. And nobody ever taught me that.
So I have a story and then we'll move on. So, here we go into public education. This is a rabbit hole we don't want to go down. So I was my old business. We did again a lot of IT work. We put infrastructure, internet infrastructure in a lot of these big apartment complexes, especially in like college towns. This is 10 years ago, so this is all new. Wi-Fi was like, whoa, Wi-Fi.
Wow.
So anyway, I'm sitting there in the rental office, and kids in college, comes in, and he had to have the office lady at the rental office address an envelope for him because he put his mom's address in the upper left. He didn't know where the address went. So it's like,
that's sad.
That's a tough time. But on the flip side, you need to have classes for older people to catch up with technology, because I'll never forget me mom
for sure
phoning me up when I was in Australia when I was 19 and email was a new thing. And she said, "Did you get the email?" And I said, "No." And she said, "Well, leave it a few more days. It might take more time to get there." I says, emails are instant.
Last story. And you guys maybe have heard me here tell this one. So I tried doing that. Remember Tim's all about helping. Cute. So again, back at the business, one of the reasons I left, I was kind of getting bored. And I saw the emergence of social media. I left in 2013, but 2011, 2012, I was bored. I kind of saw the sharing. So what I started doing is actually at night, just because I like teaching, I'd have these like night classes for like basic computer type stuff. That's awesome. How to clear spyware, how to set up your browser, install virus protection. Again, this dates me. It's 10 years ago. This is all stuff. So anyway, my favorite part was, it obviously skewed older demographic, mostly middle-aged to a lot of seniors.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, I'm up on the screen and I cut and pasted something, like a paragraph of something, because I was talking about something else. And this cute little old lady in the front row is like, "Hey, what'd you just do there?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's cut and paste." I'm like, Control C, Control V. She's like, "What's that do?" So I explained cut and paste to her. And she actually like borderline had a tear in her eye. For like 30 years, her church newsletter, she had retyped all of the boilerplate every single week. Like, you know, like the boilerplate, like who the pastor is, the schedule, you know, all the stuff that just gets rolled. She had retyped that for like decades because she didn't realize you could cut and paste that stuff.
Oh, the poor thing.
I changed her life, man.
You changed her life.
That's going to be on my gravestone.
I helped
Cut
that
and
old
paste.
lady. I helped her cry, realizing how much work I was saving her.
I've got a less sentimental story. Just one. Takes 2 seconds. As in America, and the accent was much broader at the time because I was less traveled. And I said, "Can I have a pint of lager?" And the woman gave us a pina colada.
I'm sure you still drank it, though. So.
Almost the same.
Drank it all. Probably... New favorite drink. That changed my life.
All right. So the heart of what I was trying to say with this young girl is that she realized she didn't understand money. And she said she just started to watch everything she could online about investing, about trading, about bank accounts, about interest for savings accounts. Like, she educated herself and did some due diligence to make sure who she was listening to or appropriate to listen to. But that's what you always say too, Tim, is you've got it all in your pocket, the supercomputer. Take your time, learn what you need to learn, create. If you're thinking, I never had a side hustle, what the hell are you guys talking about? Just Google side hustle. Go into
just
YouTube.
What do you, I mean, that's, you know, again, that's the beauty of right now is like, what are you passionate about? What are you interested in? And again, that goes back to, you know, that's, you know, Gary Vaynerchuk's book. Yeah. I mean, that's the core of it is like, hey, what do you love doing? I mean, and don't ruin it. You know, that's one, like, that's what I did. You know, I loved technology. That's what I did with the business. I ruined it because I grew it too big, and then it just became a job. That's again the beauty of side hustles is if you manage it properly, you don't have to ruin it. You know?
That's right.
And monetize.
And learn how to monetize. And his talk, I would recommend you listen to Gary's talk. It was his Web 2.0. Just put in Gary Vaynerchuk Web 2.0 into Google. And that talk is maybe 18 minutes long, where he says, you know, you can do your side hustle off hours. And at the time, the most popular show on television was Lost. And at one point in the video, it's like one of the best lines. He's like, stop watching Lost, and you guys could create a side hustle.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Stop putting that time down a big rabbit hole and wasting it. Do something productive with it, which I thought was powerful.
You've absolutely got to monetize a passion, and honestly, you don't have to be that great at it. There are some fucking idiots on YouTube talking about finance, like literal idiots with huge followings. But you've got to monetize a passion, and I forgot the other thing that I was going to say. It was more important. No, I've lost this. It's so sad. It was like the best part of the.
It was the greatest moment in Steady Trade podcast history, wasn't it?
I'll come back to us. It was the crescendo.
It'll come back. We'll just distract you.
Sorry, guys. Sorry to break that flow.
Almost to the top. So the heart of the matter is that we're advocating that if you guys want to be successful as traders, you need to put a different kind of pressure on yourself, not a financial pressure. It's okay to put pressure and demand the best of yourself. But if you have that financial pressure and it's like going to Vegas and putting all your chips on 13. Like, you just wouldn't do that. You would diversify, even if you're gambling in Vegas. So why are you putting that kind of pressure on yourself is my question.
And that's where I just, I will, and we've, it's been a kind of a recurring theme on the podcast and what I recommend to people. It's like, I mean, listen, if you truly love trading, which is awesome, welcome aboard. We do as well. It's like you're going down the path of quite possibly one of the most difficult things you're ever going to do. And the less pressure, the less, shit you got going on in your life, the better. Okay. And what you can do to, improve your sleep, improve your relationships, improve your cash flow. I mean, it's just like, I think that that doesn't get talked about that much. I think, and hey, we do it too. Look at charts till your eyes bleed, track your data, but I think that's why I was glad Kim picked this topic, because I just don't think it gets talked about much. Just that fact that you got to be dialed in. And if you're worried about, again, rent next week, it's probably not going to end well. I mean, so.
Yeah. And can I do a shout out also for a book called Lynchpin by Seth Godin? The subtitle is Are You Indispensable? And, even people who have their day jobs, you guys also, if you're not, maybe day trading is your side hustle, which is fantastic. Good choice, but you have to think beyond that, because if you aren't indispensable to your employer, then you are potentially at risk. And if you're not giving day trading enough time, then you may not be able to fully pivot into that full time. So again, you have to stay, it's a different world today. And the young people seem to know that, but I think the people that are over 40 don't realize you are not going to be able to just coast with whatever job you have into the sunset. You have to be indispensable all the time. And maybe you're not going to, you have to think, is my company going to be around in 5 years, 4 years, 10 years?
Extremely unlikely.
So what are you going to do? What are you going to do for those? I think in the big cities, especially after the pandemic, people are thinking now different. It was a little bit of a slap across the face to realize, wow, these things that we've been just doing by default, which is hopefully why now we have even more listeners. We're at almost 85,000 subscribers to our podcast now, guys, on YouTube. And that, I believe, is because people are realizing, oh, I do have to diversify, and then probably coming into trading. So for all of you, good for you. And it can't hurt to have another side hustle or two.
And that is, I tell you, that is the one biggest drawback of all this remote work is, if you weren't, if you were replaceable before, you're doubly replaceable now. Because, listen, those corporations, they don't give a shit about you. Okay. They do not. Okay. And if they can, listen, if maybe you're in a high standard of living area, say you're in New York City, we've mentioned that. One of the highest standards of living in the world. And they find somebody in Iowa or rural Michigan,
that's right,
and that can do just the same amount of work. They don't care about you, man. We do. Kim, Steven, and Tim do, but they don't. If they can replace you for 5 freaking cents less a day, they will. So
the more corporate you get, the higher up the chain you go, the more ruthless and selfish you'll find it is. And for good reason. The ones who are the most ruthless and selfish make the most money. So it's a self-fulfilling thing of capitalism. But if you can't beat capitalism, join the market and win it that way. But the only point that I wanted to make that I forgot earlier was that you've got to invest as much time in yourself as you do at someone else's business. You should also invest as much in you as you do in someone else's company. So if you're doing, that's how I got out of my job. I was like, if I'm doing 7 hours at work, 8 hours at work, I want to really try and do at least 6, 7, 8 in myself. Because why am I investing in his future, but I'm not investing in my future? It's just stupid, right? But not a lot of people think it.
Right. But there are a handful of bosses. I know we don't really hear about them. That's part of why I wrote my book, right? Transforming Wall Street, featuring men and women who were succeeding in business with integrity and taking care of their employees. Dan Price comes to mind, Gravity Payments. He is a conscious capitalist. He's capitalism isn't, in my opinion, where you just screw your employees for an extra 5 cents a day. That is not capitalism to me. That's just like a warped interpretation that started 30 years ago when Milton Friedman made a mistake and misread that he thought there was a corporate mandate, legal obligation of a company to maximize shareholder profits. But he actually was incorrect. He just wasn't an attorney, so he misread that. And this book called The Myth of Shareholder Value by Lynn Stout talks that mistake started to make business behave in ways that were destructive to society, to employees. And that was only 30 years ago. Prior to this 1977 situation, business wasn't run this way, just maximizing profits. So it's not capitalism that's fucked up, excuse my French. It's the way the shareholders have gotten away with this. And if you think about Hershey, way back in the day, Hershey chocolate, when it went to Pennsylvania, it knew organically it was going to have to take off for babysitting if they wanted to develop this rural area and have this be their home and use people from the community. So they built Hershey using conscious practices for their team. So I don't think all business is like this, but right now there is a lot of business like that.
I'm hoping. I mean, listen, I avoided the rant on the public school system. The thing that might make me rant even more is freaking offshoring. I mean, it's like it is the dumbest freaking idea ever, and it all came from that. I mean, we can save 5 cents shipping stuff across the world and shipping it back, and then here we are today. And good luck getting a refrigerator. It'll take you it took me 9 months to get a freaking refrigerator, and so yeah, I mean, GM and what happened in Michigan, Tim, when you look at that whole story, I watched that documentary.
It's because of that shareholder. We have to maximize profits for them. That whole thing, and it decimated that whole community. That was not capitalism. That was a warped version interpretation of what it was.
Just a personal experience have just reminded us of that. When I was in Dubai, we got took over by a Japanese company called Dentsu, leading ad agency. But when coronavirus hit, we all had to take pay cuts to make sure that they hit the targets for shareholders. So effectively, I was all right, but a lot of people with low salaries and families had to really take a cut just to make sure that they could give the money to shareholders that they promised that they'd give them. Exactly. Which is, I mean, they made an agreement, you invest this, we'll give you this. But still, why would you give the rich more money and take it literally from the poor?
No, exactly.
It's not taking from the poor, it's taking from the people who are actually making the company
it's so short-sighted.
Correct. And that's what's going to happen.
You're going to lose your best talent. You're going to lose your best talent.
Correct. It's actually not in the business's long-term.
This quarter it is. This quarter it works.
This quarter, that's it. It's just short-term focused only. But then you lose your best people. You burn them out. You cook them, and they got no place to live. They can't afford to live in that city. The whole thing, and that's why now business is going extinct. It used to. I think it lasts 77 or 80 years when Lynn Stout did her research, and now average businesses last 8. That was my point a minute ago. Species.
When you mentioned, hopefully your business. Remember, I said I'm like probably won't.
That's it.
Because
that's it. Because
average business
and that's
is 8
why.
years.
It used to be 77, 80 years. Now it's 8. And it all started back in the 70s when Milton Friedman misread the corporate mandate that they're somehow that they were legally obligated business to their shareholders. And it's not even legally true. And it's still being taught today in business schools as if that is true. And when you look at this quote, you realize, wow, this guy was an economist, not a freaking lawyer, and he misread it. And when I read that, when I was researching my book, I was like, Lynn, how are you not in Times Square with a bullhorn? Like every business school globally is still teaching this. Guys at the top of the food chain still believe it. And she's like, change takes a long time, Kim. And I'm like, we don't have time. Business is going into the ground. Like every country, every neighborhood, and every employee who gets that kind of mandate, where their salary is going to be cut to meet shareholders' returns. It's not good business. It's not capitalism. That's for damn sure.
That being said, the point is they don't care about you. Diversify. Trading, I think, is the number one, let me couch that. If you love it, okay. I think, if you're very intrigued again, and you're probably here because you are very interested. If you love it, if you're passionate about it, I think trading is the best side hustle, because the beauty of it is you can just turn it on and off. If there's no trades today, you focus on your freelance, you focus on your art, you focus on your writing, you focus on your, driving Uber, whatever it is, So that's the greatest thing about it.
Your NFT business.
Yep. So hopefully you found this useful. I mean, I think that, it's just something that we really want you to take advantage of. As much as we want you to trade, we want you to do it safely. We don't want you to blow up. We don't want you to go in debt to do this type of stuff. And a lot of people do. I mean, I've had DMs from people that, hey, you talk every day about how crazy the market is, this is going back a ways. I think that's kind of gone away, but used to have all those like 0% advances on credit cards. And I'd get people ask me, should I do that, and trade it? And I'm like, no, but people see the stock market, they see that. And I think that's why we see this high failure rate is people don't, I just don't think you would, it just attracts degeneracy is the problem. And hopefully we can talk you out of that. And like I said, save money. I mean, stock market's always going to be here, and understand if you're young, you got so much time ahead of you. I got like 3 years left. You got, probably 60 or 70 years left, so take advantage of that and do it smart, do it right, and take advantage of the technology and the world we live in, and focus on the positives, man. I think, I went on a rant again. I quit Twitter again. It's just like the doom scrolling. I think so many people, and I didn't quit Twitter because of I doom scroll. It's just like everybody I follow is just like, you follow these guys for trading ideas and stuff, and all they do is bitch all day long. This sucks, and it screws up your mindset, man. And I listen, the world, there's terrible things in the world: war, famine, climate change, disease. There's all of that going on, but I think there's never been a more incredible time, especially if you're young, willing to be mobile. Go to Bali, get a $200, WeWork office. Don't do it in the same one as Steven, because he'll corrupt you.
Exactly.
You'll be sleeping till noon, leaving at 2:00. Sleep until noon, leaving at 2:00. So make sure you do it on the other side of Bali than Steven.
Steven doesn't sleep till noon anymore. He's working very hard on his trading. He's up early.
It's not showing.
So that being said, everyone, thanks for joining us on the Steady Trade podcast. We actually mentioned several books, mentioned a few people to follow to check them out. Head over to steadytrade.com. We'll link up everything there, and be sure to share, like these, and we're really enjoying growing them. Share them with your friends, and we'll see you on the next Steady Trade podcast.